Good evening. This is Weekdays with Wendy, and I'm reading to you from the Love Your Neighbor, No Exceptions Daily Flip Calendar. Today's reading is a quote by Heyward. In the spirit which draws us into honest engagement with one another, including those who may be very different from us in various ways, God calls us to wake up and learn how to love and respect one another, period. In the spirit which draws us into honest engagement with one another, including those who may be very different from us in various ways, God calls us to wake up and learn how to love and respect one another, period. We are called to love and respect one another, and we're not given a pass for not doing that. I remember in my life, one person who did that and was a great example of this quote was my 9th grade English teacher, Mrs. Dever. Now, Mrs. Dever came into our school district as a new teacher. I think she only taught there a couple years and then moved to her own city's school district. But she taught at my school in Ohio and came in as a new teacher for my 9th grade English class. Now, 9th graders, we were the freshmen at the high school, the low people in social rank, and we were awkward and rambunctious. And she stepped in, and literally she had this tangible decision. She was going to love all of us. Now, she made us all adhere to her rules, but you never lost sense that she loved each and every student, from the ones who didn't get good grades, to the ones who acted up, to the ones who were, the talkative, disruptive ones, to the ones who wanted to be teacher's pet. She loved all of us. She came up with some of the best class assignments. We had a whole week of lessons on the Renaissance and reading and talking about things in that life, dressing up and eating the foods of the Renaissance period. She had us do a collection of poetry, and she let people choose whether they wanted to be graded on their poems or their artwork, and putting the book of poems together. You could decorate it however you wanted. And so for students who weren't good at poetry, that really gave them still a chance to snag a really good grade. And for people like me, I just idolized her because I loved English. I loved writing assignments. And so I really enjoyed Mrs. Dever. One day she asked if she could put one of my poems in her church bulletin. She attended a Methodist church like I did. It was in a different town, but she took one of my poems after I gave her permission. She asked me permission, I gave it to her, and then she took her poem and had it in her church's bulletin. And then she brought me a copy of that bulletin. I still have it. It's deep in one of the boxes in the garage, but it's there. But I remember that bulletin that she brought to me, and it just lifted my confidence and made me feel incredibly good. I remember it was the National Honor Society meeting, and at my school in Ohio, the way you were inducted into National Honor Society, it was a tapping ceremony, and there would be a teacher that would kind of worm or snake their way through the crowd in the gymnasium. All the students would be there, and they would come to a student and tap them on the shoulder. And when that student stood up to walk to the stage, their parents or parent would come in another door. And the year that At the end of that year, Mrs. Dever walked into the auditorium, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, if ever I was going to be in National Honor Society, I would want Mrs. Dever to tap my shoulder. And sure enough, she got closer and closer until she tapped my shoulder. And more than the honor of getting into National Honor Society, it was a greater honor that this teacher, who loved all of her students, was the one to tap me. It's a very special memory, and I remember more about her tapping my shoulder than I do about whatever happened after that. Choosing to love without exception can make a difference in people's lives. I was impacted by the fact that Mrs. Dever loved all of her students, not just me, but all of her students. We were confident of it. And it made a difference for me and for all of us. When we choose to wake up and learn how to love and respect one another, it makes a difference in the world. I hope you choose to do that. And for all the people who are already doing it, for all the teachers out there who have made that decision, and for Mrs. Paulette Dever of Greenville, Ohio, thank you. Thank you for the way you live your life. Have a great evening.